Hi everyone, it's Yvette Le Blowitz from SpiritGirl.com and welcome to the Spirit Girl Talk Show podcast. I'm super excited to be here with you today and our very special guest, Colleen Callander, who is the former CEO of two Australian iconic fashion brands, Sportsgirl and Suzanne. Colleen is now the CEO of her own business, Callander & Co., and the founder of Mentor Me Women. And she is also the author of Leader by Design. Leader by Design is to empower you to lead with confidence in business and in life. Colleen is so passionate about helping women to build their confidence and to embrace their superpowers. She wants to inspire all of us to have a voice, to live with purpose, and lead in your own authentic way. Colleen, welcome to the Spirit Girl podcast show. I'm super excited to have you here. How are you today?
Hi, Yvette. I'm really well, thank you. It's wonderful to be here with you, and hi to all of your wonderful listeners as well.
A big hello and shout out to our incredible global Spirit Girl audience and community. We're here today, and with the help of Colleen Callander, we're going to help bring you insights into how we can build confidence and really improve our own life and work on our own dreams. So, Colleen, before we dive into your book, are you happy to tell our audience a little bit about yourself?
Sure, absolutely. Well, I'll talk about my entry into the fashion world because I've been in the fashion industry for over 30 years, which when I say that, Yvette, always makes me feel very old when I say I've been somewhere for 30 years. But that is the truth. And I started at the end of year 11 and I got this summer job at the local Just Jeans store. And I absolutely loved it from the second I walked in the door. And I'd worked in my family businesses for many years, but this was a real job. Like, this was in the fashion industry. So I took every single shift I could. All of my friends were out having fun, beach, boys, holidays, no homework, and I worked all summer. And as I said, I loved it from the minute I walked through the door. And at the end of that summer break, the area manager came and asked me whether I would like to stay on full time with the business. And her words to me were, "Cole, you've got potential." And so what 16-year-old young girl wouldn't be excited about hearing those words? So I had the job of then telling my parents that I wasn't going to finish school. I wasn't going to get my formal qualification and finish year 12. I wanted to sell jeans on the shop floor, but I had potential. So anyway, through that conversation, which was an interesting one, my parents are incredible humans. And they said to me throughout that conversation, "Cole, be passionate, work hard, love what you do, and never give up." And they're the words that have stuck with me my entire life in everything that I've done. So here I was, this 16-year-old girl. I started out and, as I said, loved it. And I worked hard. I did exactly what they told me. And by the age of 18, I was the youngest store manager in the company. By the age of 20, I was the youngest area manager running 16 stores. And then by the age of 24, I was running the state with 54 stores. And that's where I spent the next 4 years of my life until I got a phone call from Sportsgirl asking me to come and join them. And I joined the Sportsgirl business in 1999. And I had my 20-year milestone last year with the company. And that was when I decided, after 13 years as a CEO, 6 years at Suzanne, and then 7 at Sportsgirl, that it was time for me to write my next chapter. I had the most phenomenal 20-year experience there. And but for me, it was time to, hang up those striped boots and move into that next part of my life. And that brings me here today.
Wow, that is such an incredible story. First of all, congratulations on everything you've achieved. What really stuck out for me then was how it took one person to see the potential in you in your first job. And those pivotal words is what planted the seed. And why you're here today with myself and the Spirit Girl audience. I've got goosebumps.
Yeah.
It just took those empowering, inspiring words and someone seeing the potential in you. And then you actually believing in yourself as well by hearing those encouraging words. First of all, I love Sportsgirl. So for our international audience, Sportsgirl is one of our most iconic brands. And as a young Aussie girl. I'm very grateful to have that brand as a role model. It was very positive, colorful. The iconic shirts are still there. And my mama and I only went in there a couple of weeks ago with, remember this, Mum, when I used to wear it all the time, the shirt? I need another one.
I suppose when I think about my purpose as a CEO, my purpose was to inspire and empower women every day, whether that be in my office, whether that be in the stores, whether that be with our customers. And so for me, my purpose has not changed. My purpose was to inspire and empower women to bring their best selves to work every day and lead with confidence and share their voice and speak up and contribute to the greater good of the business. My purpose today hasn't changed. My purpose is exactly the same. I'm just doing it in a very different way. I'm doing it via great podcasts like your own and sharing the message. I'm doing it via my book, via speaking events, all sorts of different places. So I'm just doing it a lot broader and deeper than I have before. You know, I always wanted to write a book, and I have no idea why, because writing a book's really hard. I don't know why I thought it was going to be easy, because it's not. But I loved every minute of it, and everything I've put in my book is again about inspiring and empowering women to really have the confidence to lead in their own lives, whether that be in business or in life. And the same with my mentoring programs. I run 4-week mentoring programs. And again, that is giving women the skills and the tools and the tips to really be able to step up and have that confidence to share their voice and, as I said, lead with purpose and be true to their values and all of those things. So life's been crazy busy since I finished in my CEO world, and my life in decades. So my 20s, my 30s, my 40s, and now I got this new chapter coincided with me turning 50. So I'm writing a new chapter. I'm writing the next decade of my life, and I really want to support women on that journey.
I love this because you get to take all of that experience that you've learned on the job and in leadership and in business, and now you can help others build successful brands because you know business. Now, when it comes to your book, what is the meaning behind the title, Leader by Design?
I'm really proud of my title. I love it. And it's kind of a double-edged sword. You know, I believe we can all become the leaders that we want to be, the leader we wanted to have, and a leader that people choose to follow. So I became a leader by design. I designed the leader I wanted to be. And of course, I've been in the design fashion industry for over 30 years. So it is a little bit double-edged sword. But I've written my book, Yvette. It's like part autobiography where I share my journey from finishing school at 16 to CEO and everything in between, including burnout. And I'm sure we'll get to that topic today as well. And as I said, my goal in the book is really to inspire women to step up and have a voice and believe in themselves and become the leaders that they want to be. And the second sort of part of my book, or the reason behind my book, is I also really want to inspire leaders. And that is both men and women. And I really want to inspire them to move into this new era of leadership that I keep talking about. And this new era of leadership is one where we lead with kindness and compassion and collaboration and trust and authenticity, and one where we put people at the heart of everything we do, and also one where we encourage more women to take the helm. That is really important to me, is that we start to change that narrative and we allow women to build the confidence to start putting their hand up for that promotion, to put their hand up for that pay rise, to walk into the boardroom and kill it with confidence. You know, that is really my mission, is to help women through my book to do that.
I love your mission. I truly believe that women and girls, but all people, but we're talking about women, this particular topic here, are the answer to everything, to climate change, to everything when it comes to living in a better, kinder, happier, healthier, more compassionate, empathetic world. So congratulations on your book. It's on Amazon. It's on Booktopia. Like, it's out there. It's circulating. How does it feel now to have sat down, written the book, have it out there to the world?
It's a really wonderful feeling. And when I first had my books delivered at home, and my book only came out in May, actually, so it's relatively new. And, you know, we've been in COVID a lot, so we haven't been able to get out there as much as we would like. But it was just fantastic. But the biggest thing for me, Yvette, is when I get those emails from people. When I get those emails from women, and I had one just yesterday saying, my daughter has your book. She really didn't enjoy school. She had struggled with learning. She has not put your book down, and she's now just finished dinner and gone back to her bedroom to continue reading. And she said to me today that she used your book in her meeting at work, because she's now in a corporate role. And she said, thank you for making her so happy. When I get emails like that, that's the reason I wrote the book. It's absolutely the reason I wrote it.
Wow, that is so touching to know that you're helping to change people's lives. And as someone who's written a book many years ago now, It Starts With Me, it is those heartfelt stories. It's a connection one-on-one that you have with the reader, but being able to empower that girl in her life and in her career is so incredible. When it comes to building confidence, so a lot of women reach out to me, or girls, and even now guys, where they really feel that due to social media, they want to build their business or brand, but they feel very self-conscious because now you can be in Australia and have access to someone, say, in Russia or the US or the UK, and they're starting to feel like having low self-esteem, that they're not good enough, that they maybe don't have enough experience. For someone who's struggling with confidence and believing in themselves, what are some words of wisdom you could share with them today?
It's a fantastic question, Yvette. And in my book, there is a whole chapter on confidence, because all roads lead to confidence. It is one of the biggest challenges we face today. It doesn't matter how confident someone might seem, everyone suffers from confidence issues. Some are big, some are small, but everyone suffers from confidence issues. And I think the biggest thing is that we need to start to change that story. We have these stories that continue to play over and over and over again in our heads. Our minds are very, very busy places, and we have this inner critic, and this inner critic tells us stories all the time. And it says things to us like, you're never going to get it done, you're going to fail, you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you're too young, you're too old, you don't have the skills. And what we need to do is interrupt that story. They're the stories we're telling ourselves. We need to interrupt that story of self-sabotage and start to take and create a more empowering story that allows us to feel much more confident. And when we feel confident, we take action. So it's really important that we start to interrupt that story and change it, because when we change our story, we actually change our lives.
Love that message. When we change our story, we actually change our lives. And I can resonate with this truly, because I grew up in Australia born, but my mum is French and came from France to Australia, which is very glamorous when it comes to fashion and all of that.
Yes.
But then my father is Aboriginal from the Butchulla tribe, and there's a lot of social stigma with that. I grew up with low self-esteem because when you look at me, you can't tell, but I have actually been in boardrooms, and I'll never forget in my first corporate job, when someone said something about the race, and it deeply affected me and hurt me. So I guess that's why I love your message of self-esteem. I've had to work heavily on changing the story. Like, it's okay that my dad's Aboriginal. It's okay I'm Aboriginal, and I can do anything, be anything. And even if people say unkind things about the race, or even if someone does something within the race that I necessarily wouldn't do, that doesn't have to be a reflection of me. I've got to choose my story. I've got to make sure that what other people say or do, that's not me. It's taken so long to actually figure this out.
I always say to women that, as you're highlighting there, changing your story, confidence starts with self. We have to build our own confidence, and we have to start believing in ourselves, and we have to start talking to ourselves like our best friend, and we have to start telling ourselves we can do things. And we also have to be lifting each other up as women. But you are absolutely right. Confidence starts within. So we really need to not really look anywhere else for confidence. Of course we do. We feed off other people, but really we have to start believing in ourselves, just like you highlighted.
You also help people share their voice. Some women are very fearful of sharing their story, their vulnerability, because they're so worried about what other people are going to say or think. And I've been there. So I'll put my hand up. I've had to open up a lot on the podcast show. Some things are really difficult to open up about, but I've had to learn to open up to help other people and to not think about judging myself or being judged by others. But what would you share with someone who's really scared about sharing their story because it's not that glamorous or not that cool? What would be some words of wisdom for that listener listening in now?
I would say your story is important. It doesn't matter whether you think it's cool, you think it's fashionable, you think it's awesome. Your story is uniquely you. And every single gorgeous woman listening to this podcast right now has their own unique, beautiful story. And I would encourage you to share it because you might just help someone else. You might just say some words that encourage someone else. You might just give someone else, help them with their confidence issue. Again, we need to change the story because our story is important. Every single one of you, your story is important. So just have a go. Put yourself out there. What is the worst thing that can happen? As you said, Yvette, we have this thing about fear of being judged, but we are actually judging ourselves more than anyone else. So please share your story. Your story is important.
I love that. Share your story. Your story is so important. I love that. And we are our harshest critics. Now, when it comes to burnout, you're a mum and you've been a CEO for many, many, many decades. But you've also now got your own business and book and so much going on. How do you actually now prevent burnout? And what are some of your own self-care rituals?
I now know how to prevent burnout because I hit burnout. And I think, if I look back on that time, Yvette, it was in 2007 and I had 3 young children then. I have 3 big children now, but I describe myself as a red Ferrari. And I'd been with Sportsgirl for 8 years. I was acting general manager and I was this red Ferrari that kept going faster and faster and faster and wanted to win every race. And what I'd forgotten to do with that red Ferrari was to put petrol in the tank or put air in the tires, pull into the pits for a pit stop. I just kept going. And I kept going until I couldn't, until I hit burnout, until I hit a wall. And I remember going home that night and saying to my husband, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. And it wasn't that I didn't love my job. I absolutely loved my job. I just had nothing left in the tank because I'd forgotten about myself. And so what I did instead was I actually took 4 months off. I went in to resign and I got talked out of that idea. So I took 4 months off and I put that red Ferrari in for a well overdue service. And I really changed the way I live my life. I talk about burnout today as a gift, and I write about it in my book as well, because it was a gift that allowed me to think about what I was doing. And I had no boundaries. And when I say I had no boundaries, I had none, like literally no boundaries. I had no start and end time to the day. Again, this red Ferrari just kept going. I didn't have any self-care whatsoever because I felt it was selfish. I had no balance in my life. I just didn't have any of that at all. So I had to put all of these strategies in place. And a big part of my message in my book is to help women, if they are on that train to burnout town, how to recognize it, how to get off that train, because you don't want to end up there. It is not a great place to be. And so boundaries become really important. How do we start and end our day? How do we fill that tank up? What is your life in balance? I encourage everyone that I work with and in my book and in my speaking to think about what their life imbalance is. Mine is 80-20. I used to have these 2 boxes. People talk about work-life balance. I talk about life imbalance because they both have to coexist together. So 80% of my life these days, and for a very long time, has to be in balance, calm, methodical, thought through, organized. Love it. Okay, that's me. But the other 20% can be chaos. And I love that too, because chaos brings excitement and new ideas and resilience and risk taking. But I know when the scales tip and that 20% goes to 30 and 40 and 50, that I'm not working very smartly. So I have to add, change, or delete something to get back to that life imbalance. And so today I know those triggers, and I still do. My scales fall out of balance often, but I know those triggers, and then I know what to do to get them back in balance. So I really encourage all of your listeners to think about what is their life imbalance. Yours, Yvette, might be 50-50. You might like 50% calm, 50% chaos. That's absolutely okay. okay. It doesn't matter what the number is. The important thing here is that you know what that balance looks like, that life in balance. And when it starts to slip, we add, change, or delete to get back to that really happy place. That's where we live our best life, when we're in that happy place of life in balance.
So when it comes to your balance now, do you have to, because you're working for yourself, and a lot of the work is now remote, of course, with Zoom and online due to the pandemic, do you have to have now like a cutoff time in the evening where you put your mobile phone away, switch off, and go into the Colleen mum mode, the Colleen wife mode? How does this play out for you?
Yeah, I do. And I had to do that in my CEO world as well. So when I would come home and put my key in the door, I would have to switch modes because my kids didn't give a crap that I was a CEO. They couldn't have cared less. All they cared about was that I was their mum. And so, we wear, particularly women, we wear so many hats, right? So we need to know when we can take one hat off and put another one on. And we also need to know when we put the hat of self on as well. So we have all of these things in our life. So I very much have, a start to my day. I walk every morning. I go to the beach and walk every day. It's the way I start my day. I turn my computer off at a certain time, and that might change depending on what's going on in my world at that time. But I have a turn off time. I make sure that I fill that tank up. I go and have that bath. I lock the door. I have what I call 45 to thrive. And I write about this in my book. And I implemented this when I had burnout. As women, I encourage you to take 45 minutes every day to thrive, because when we do that, that's when we're filling up our tank. And it doesn't matter what you're doing. You might be reading, you might be having a bath, you might be going for a walk, you might be doing some meditation. It's whatever fills that tank up. And when we don't do that, we start to get resentful because we start to have this, blame versus responsibility sort of mentality. But when we fill our tanks up, it only takes 45 minutes. When we do that, we are so much better for self. And that means we're so much better for everyone else around us.
I love that. 45 minutes to thrive. That is so incredible. And we can do it in any way, reading, having a bath, going for a walk. That is so incredible. And obviously now that you're doing the self-care and the 45 minutes to thrive, that helps you stay more in balance or prevents you from burning out.
Absolutely. Before I hit burnout or on my way to burnout, I would feel guilty. So I would go for a walk, and the whole walk, I'd think I should be doing the washing, I should be doing the ironing, I should be returning those emails that are still on my computer. And so I had this guilt. I was living with guilt all the time. And once we move away from that guilt and we say, no, if I give myself 45 minutes every day to fill up my tank and I'm going to be the best version of me, we actually then push that guilt away, and it doesn't feel guilty. It says, I'm just as important as everyone else around me. And when we make things important, then we take action. When people say to me, I really want to get healthy, but I just don't have the time, I'll say to you, then it's not important. If you say, I want to have self-care, but I just don't have time, I'm going to tell you, then it's not important. Because when things are important, we make time. If our children are important, we make time. If going to our kids' concerts important, we make time. So when we tell ourselves we don't have time, we're really telling ourselves it's not that important. So you are important. So please make time.
I love that message. You are important, so please make time. And when it's important, we will make time. And as someone who's experienced severe burnout, I'm very susceptible to it.
Yes.
And I've learned the hard way, like yourself, Colleen, and other people I'm sure who's listening and can truly resonate, that self-care is the ultimate number one importance. It has to happen. It's a must. And I think, like yourself, because I've been to the lowest of lows, practicing no self-care, I never want to get there again. I love that we can have this empowering discussion today and conversation to help other people, because you don't want to burn out. If you can prevent it, please prevent it.
Please prevent it. And there are so many tips in my book to help you, as I said, not get on that train to burnout. Or if you are, there's lots of tips to help you get off. Burnout's a bitch. We don't want to end up there. It is not fun. And the thing about burnout, and you would know this as well, Yvette, is it doesn't just affect us. It affects everyone around us. So it is just not a fun place to be. So please get off that burnout train.
Yeah, and burnout's really prevalent now in our society because most girls or women might have a full-time job or a part-time job or be a mum, realistically, everybody's kind of hustling. So if someone's trying to build their Instagram page or YouTube channel or brand or whatever, they're then coming home after work and trying to cram it in or do it on the weekend. Have you learned, Colleen, in your journey that sleep is so important?
Yes.
I learned that the hard way.
It is so important, isn't it? I mean, just think about it. Just when we have a great night's sleep, it is the most restorative thing we can do for ourselves is get great sleep. And we are filling up our tanks, just like filling that tank up overnight when we're sleeping. And so, I like my sleep. I'm not a late night person, Yvette. I go to bed at like 9:30, 10 o'clock every night, like anything after that. And I don't function too well because I like to get up early and I like to start my day by filling my tank up with my walk. So it's really, really so important to do.
Do you help now women to work out? We have, say, 20 things to do, but realistically, maybe we should only focus on a couple and do them well and try to not overwhelm ourselves.
Yes, that's so important. And yes, I do that because you're right. We could write a list of 100 things if we really wanted to. And as women, we like to keep ourselves busy, right? We like to have full plates. So the bigger the list, the better we feel about it, the more busy we are. If one of my values is achievement, so I have to be ticking things off that list. So if there are too many things on that list, I'm not ticking anything off properly. So I'm not filling my values tank. So for me and for the women I work with, I say focus on the things that are most important. Really prioritize those things. Where are you going to add value to yourself and add value to others? I talk about set your focus, whatever that might be, whether it be at work, whether it be at home. But when we prioritize, we start ticking that list off. And when we tick that list off, it makes us feel great. So it's really important, as you said, make those priorities really important in our lives.
Obviously, when it comes to time management, which you'd be very good at, your surname is Callander, Callander, but do you live your life through a calendar? You plan ahead, within your diary what's going on. How does that look like for you?
Yeah, I am such a calendar person, not just by name, but by nature. It's really funny because I have a handwritten calendar, which sounds really berserk to some people. Of course, I have it in my computer because it pings and reminds me things going on. But I have a handwritten calendar and everything is color-coded. And everything has a time and a place because that's how I live my life. I live my life very orderly and I like to fit a lot into my life. So I cannot live without my calendar. And I write this in my book, actually. And no one's ever asked me the question until now, but I do write this in my book. When we put pen to paper, there is something that happens. There is this connection that happens that then makes us commit. Different to typing it into a computer. So I handwrite, and I've actually got not only my next 2 months, which is the rest of this year, I've already printed out and got my whole next 12 months calendar is printed out with writing in there as well. So I would encourage everyone to think about what works for you. There's no right or wrong, but for me, I love a handwritten calendar. It's this thing about committing to something.
First of all, everyone should go to the SPAITGIRL YouTube so you can just see how Colleen Callander held up her calendar. But that was one of the things that I actually picked up with you is you're very good at planning ahead, like months ahead, even with this podcast show. But also I'm the same. So I feel really disorganized. And until I put pen to paper, so I work old school, pen to paper where I've got to write into a diary, literally. Yes. And it's so funny that you're holding that up because I haven't done my upcoming months, but I'm the same.
Yes.
Visually, I've got to write it. I feel a bit more organized and in control when I can see, okay, podcast show 11 a.m. with Colleen Callander today. You're based in Victoria, Melbourne.
That's right. Yes,
There's
I am.
a lot of stuff going on in Melbourne. Life isn't the new norm for you guys and definitely not for anyone. But what have been a couple of silver linings you feel that have come from, I guess, spending more time at home?
It's a great one. And look, I think that there has been, COVID has been very tough on everyone and for different reasons, and people have felt it in different ways. We've had it, really tough in Victoria, but I am such an optimistic person, and I always believe there are silver linings to everything, and there are many silver linings to COVID. For me, I got to be at home with my family for a long period of time, which I've actually enjoyed because I've been that red Ferrari for a very long time. For me, Mentor Me Women came out of COVID. I'd never planned to start Mentor Me Women, but I had all of these women ringing me, ones that I knew, ones that I didn't know, saying, Cole, we need some help. They didn't know which way to turn. I had lots of leaders reaching out to me saying, can you help us? And I believe the leaders that were leading positively, engaged their people, inspired and empowered their teams, are the ones that were going to continue to be great during COVID. The ones that didn't do any of that were the ones that were really going to struggle during this time. So for me, so many silver linings, writing my book, Mentor Me, spending time with my family, having some time to slow down a little bit. I haven't slowed down that much, but just a tiny bit. And I think, the other thing too, Yvette, I think we just appreciate things a little bit more. We now go to restaurants and go, oh, how awesome is it to be out at a restaurant? We would never have said that. We were taking a lot of things for granted. I think that we will appreciate things much more than we have before.
I think you are so right. Even being able to sit in a coffee shop is such a dream. Going to the coffee shop and sitting down is a dream. And going to a restaurant with a girlfriend. And I've just recently visited Lizard Island, part of the luxury lodges of Australia. And that is an absolute dream right on our own doorsteps. We have so many things right here, and it's the smallest things now. Sitting down in a coffee shop, that is like, wow. So what is your hope now for your book readers? Because I encourage everyone to get a copy of your book so they can learn more and develop their leadership skills and just improve their own overall life and well-being.
My hope is my book gets into as many women's hands as possible. And that doesn't mean you have to buy it. You can share it with your friend. But I really want to inspire women. I want to give them the tips and the tools to really build that confidence, not fake stuff, not fake it till you make it, but real lasting confidence that allows us to take action, that allows us to step out of our comfort zone, that allows us to push beyond where we think we can go. So I really want women to do that because I want to change the number. I was one of 20% of women in this country that held a CEO position. And so that's a number that really I'm super proud of Yvette, because I held that role and for 13 years, but it's also a number that really concerns me that only 20% of women are CEOs in this country. And so we need to change that. We need to really be circuit breakers for change. And the only way we can do that is with women supporting women, women lifting each other up, building each other's confidence. There is enough room in this world for everyone. So I really encourage women to buy my book, share it, read it. The great thing about my book is it's not a book you read from front to back. There's places you can write in it. It asks you lots of questions. Questions are one of the most powerful ways that we can really find and get inner peace with ourselves. I've had women send me messages saying, Cole, your book has been a game changer for me. So again, if I can impact one woman's life, one young girl's life, then I'm living out my purpose and doing my job.
I love your purpose and I love what you're doing. I love you're about authenticity, empowerment. You want to raise that number from 20%. Really, we want to see it at 80%, but we'd be happy with 50%. And I love how you're on a mission to improve that and to increase that and to empower women who are in business to believe that they can be the CEO of their company, that it's just not the boys' club, that it can be equality for women. I often think about that young girl in our remote Indigenous communities, and I often think, she can be the CEO, she can be the Prime Minister, and we really just have to start empowering each other and lifting each other up as a community. Now, Colleen, if people want to start mentoring with you, like being part of your mentor programs and stay in contact with you after the podcast show, what's the best way to do that?
You can jump on my Instagram, which is just Colleen_Callander, and I post up there when the next Mentor Me program is starting. My next one actually starts in February, so you'll see that coming online, or you can just jump online at Colleen Callander and you can sign up there. It's all on my website, or just reach out, send me an email and say hi. I'd love to hear from you.
Well, I love your passion for helping others, and you're so accessible. You're so down to earth, authentic. I love how you're trying to change the narrative, leadership with kindness and empowering everybody to have a voice. that everyone is okay to share their thoughts, what they think could improve their business or company. And it's so beautiful to see. And I'm so grateful that we got to spend this time today. Like, seriously, I could have talked to you all day about your work and your tips. I'll have to have you back on the podcast show. So if anyone has specific questions for Colleen Callander, either send them to myself at spiritgirl.com or direct to colleencallander.com and reach out to Colleen. Thank you again, Colleen. It's been such a pleasure. You're such an incredible Australian inspirational leader and woman. And I'm just so grateful that you are now on this mission to help so many others. And I just know by the stories you've shared today of the people reaching out to you that you're really making a huge impact. You're going to have this incredible legacy, and it's just so lovely to see.
Oh, thank you so much for those beautiful, kind words. And thank you for creating a platform that allows women to do that and allows women to share their stories and inspire each other, because that's what you're doing as well in a different way. So thank you for creating that beautiful, safe space that women can come on your podcast and share their journey. And remember, everyone has a story and your story is important. So please share your story.
I love that. So thanks again.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me.
We will say goodbye to Colleen Callander. Be sure to subscribe, to leave a 5-star rating and review, and to tell someone you love to. And together, let's feel good from within.